set. Brakes are released. 3, 2, 1, now.
This plane could fly at Mach 2, flying at the edge of space while carrying 100 passengers. Why did we let it go? This is the Concorde Story. The story begins with Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier, igniting new discoveries and bringing supersonic travel into the conversation. After Yeager broke the sound barrier, military-grade jets were now routinely flying past or at the speed of sound, bringing into question the possibility of large-scale civilian airliners that could travel at the same speeds as military-grade jets while cutting travel times in half. A plane such as Concorde had the ability to cut a 7-hour flight, New York to London, typically flown by planes such as the Boeing 777, today into a 3.5-hour flight. But building such a plane would not be an easy task. The aerodynamic challenges were severe, having to make sure that the plane could sustain both smaller speeds at lower elevations and reach speeds of Mach 2 at higher elevations, while still making the plane suitable for civilian transportation. Some people were skeptical about the change from jets to supersonic transportation, but others were skeptical back when the change from turboprops to jets was made with the British-made aircraft, the de Havilland Comet, a change that left many in the dust. People did not want to make the same mistake twice. So how was such a change coming? Americans, Russians, and the British and French government put hundreds of millions of dollars towards the goal. The result being a unique American design drawn up by Boeing, a Russian aircraft that seemingly stole many ideas from the Concorde program, the Tupolev Tu-144, and the winner, the Concorde.
There at the end of the runway is Concorde 001 and in Toulouse has joined Raymond Baxter.
Just seconds to go.
Et maintenant, enfin, le premier vol.
110 tons of aircraft, all up weight there. The magic moment with us. The crescendo of sound from the five.
The Concorde featured a unique design with a delta wing, optimal for supersonic flight and lower speeds. However, this caused a conundrum. Pilots would be forced to land with a high angle of attack on landing, so engineers introduced the droop snoot. The nose would tilt down on landing for better visibility and retract in normal flight to reduce aerodynamic drag. Concorde also featured a state-of-the-art fuel pump system, a system that would pump fuel around the aircraft to keep the center of gravity in limits. You wouldn't hear such a fuel system working, but it was working all throughout the flight. And fuel-thirsty afterburners, where fuel would be injected into the exhaust to keep up higher speeds. In 1963, more than 70 Concordes had now been ordered. The press was dazzled, but just as it seemed nothing could go wrong, something happened. While the Concorde was a majestic machine, it produced a ton of noise on takeoff and landing. In addition, sonic boom testing had been conducted, making it illegal to fly the Concorde over most land-based areas in the world. There had also been clues that suspected the mighty jet could cause severe damage to the ozone layer. And finally, the excitement for supersonic transportation had begun to die down. Concorde was now left with only 14 orders from British Airways and Air France, and there was one other problem.
Have we used Flight engineer Gilles Jardinot keeps a vigilant eye on fuel consumption.
We've got 800 kilos.
Concorde burns through it at an astonishing rate. In the short taxi to the runway, the plane's 4 engines have already used as much fuel as the average car uses in 6 months.
Concorde burns through fuel at an astonishing rate, taking as much fuel as the average car uses in 6 months to taxi to the runway. In addition, oil prices were quickly rising. British Airways and Air France were losing money operating the Concorde. So was this it? Was this the end of Concorde? No, it was not. British Airways and Air France had figured out how to operate the jet with a massive profit. They made it into a luxury airliner.
Booking a seat on the famed jet requires deep pockets. The return fare to New York costs more than $9,000.
It was not something unaffordable for those people we had on board. Some of them, I tell you, they didn't even know how much they were paying.
Concorde featured top-notch dining with great service. Airline food is often said to be bad, but in this case, it was extraordinarily good. While a crash in 2000 effectively shut down the plane for good, it will always be remembered as one of the most majestic planes to ever fly. This is the Concorde Story.